This is a story about how I pretended to be black.
I'm sorry.
So I dropped out of college in New York because I went crazy. And I had to move back home to my parents' house in Baltimore and live in the basement. And I taught kindergarten, substitute taught kindergarten, because the real teacher was in rehab. And I was angry. I was furious. All day, I woke up angry. I went to school and I read The Ugly Duckling, angry. I wrote a very thinly veiled autobiographical novel, and it was furious. So after a while, I got sick of coming to school hungover and telling the kids to take a nap for 8 hours, and I decided to re-enroll in college. I went to school at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, which is a really good school that I hated. These assholes were not like my classmates in New York. I hated them. I hated everything about them, not because of anything that they were doing, but again, because I was angry. This is the continuing theme here. So I didn't make any friends on campus. I didn't want to make any friends on campus. I wanted to just go about my day and be angry. But I did join the student newspaper because they would let me write whatever I wanted. And, usually it was like acerbic theater reviews, but sometimes it was like, I was like, I want to write an article about who the hottest people on campus are, and who the ones who are not the hottest on campus are. And they let me because, I don't know, they liked me. So, one day I'm stomping through the school bookstore and I see this sign. It's February, and so the sign is for Black History Month, and it has a picture of Harriet Tubman and a picture of Colin Powell. And underneath it says, "From Bondage to Books, Black History Month." And I flew into a rage. Because I was angry, yes, but because I thought also it was like a real, like, a slight, I felt. Because, basically what the sign said to me was like, you know how blacks were slaves, and then they weren't, and then they wrote a book, and everything's cool now? And that, to me, rubbed me the wrong way. That's not what it meant, obviously, but I was like, first of all, I don't think Harriet Tubman wrote a book. Second of all, I don't think Colin Powell was a slave, so I don't know what this sign is. So I decided to do something about it. I decided to write an editorial for the school paper, and I decided to make it a satire, because I once read a satire in 8th grade. It was the modest proposal, like everyone's read. And I didn't really have a firm grasp on the thing, but I figured, I'll wing it. So I called it satire, and I'm not proud of this. I'm not proud of anything I do in this story, but it's true. I called it From Bondage to Books, An Idiot's Guide to Black History Month. And it took this very, very caustic approach where I just basically wrote from the perspective of like, why do we need Black History Month? They were slaves, we freed them, whatever. Like, Frederick Douglass, Bill Cosby, Halle Berry. What else do you need? I actually, and this is really shameful, I cribbed from the Billy Joel song, We Didn't Start the Fire, and I wrote the words, MLK, blown away, what else do I have to say? So, yeah, this was not good writing. I was very proud of it, though. I dropped it off the school newspaper office, skipped home, and went to bed. It was printed overnight and put on the website as well. The next morning, I woke up to 1,000 new emails in my inbox, and I didn't quite understand why. No one ever read my stuff in the paper. So I'm reading through, and some of them were like really just sort of like vitriolic, like, you crazy cracker, and some of them were like really, really educated, but arguments against me and how much of a racist I was, and I was perplexed. And I kept reading through, and eventually I got to one that was like, I read your article in the National Association of Black Journalists listserv, and I was like, oh my God. This got forwarded on to, oh geez, I'm so out of time. So this got forwarded around to all these sort of people. And I got thousands of emails. And the next day, on campus, the campus sort of flew into an uproar, but nobody knew who I was. They had this forum on campus, and the title was like, on the article, and Eric Thomas. And so I walked in to the theater, like everybody else, and nobody knew who I was. I stood between this black girl and this black guy, and I was like, hello brother, hello sister, what's going on in here? And they had no idea who I was. I was like, an article? Well, I'll be. Well, like a man, burn the motherfucker down. And then I walked out, because I had to go vote for American Idol. They didn't have any idea who I was. None of them had any idea who I was. And that was great for me. But on the fourth day, the jig was up. The leader of the on-campus branch of the NAACP, the student branch of the NAACP, knew me, and he knew what I had done. And so he called the local news station, Channel 13 in Baltimore, and they came to my job and they interviewed me. and they interviewed him as well, and I think he was really just trying to get on the news. Of course, so was I, so it didn't matter. And after that, everyone knew who I was and what I had done. And oh gosh, there's so much more to say, but I'll finish with this. You know, they had this meeting of the school newspaper board and me, and they were like, we have to censure you. And I was like, you can't censure me. I'm not part of your club. I'm not one of you, is what I said. That night, I went home, and I was starting to print out the letters because me and the school newspaper board were going to have a drinking game about this, where every time someone called me a cracker, they would drink, and every time someone mentioned Martin Luther King, we would drink. And as the letters came out of my printer, I know, as the letters came out of my printer, it just got less and less funny. And all the letters turned from these ridiculous things to real people's faces that were like me, that looked like mine, and they were all angry.